Okay, good morning and welcome to Curriculum and Instruction. This is, what is today? April 17th, is that right? April 16th. All the days are running together. April 16th, it's Thursday. And what we'll do today, we're actually going to kind of take a look at any questions that you might have or have had on the competencies 1 through 4 assessment. Theoretically, it was due last night. What I will do before we get back together on Tuesday is I will have looked through everybody's stuff. I'll give you feedback on that. Before I forget to say this, let me say it now. Tuesday's session will be another office hours session like it was this past Tuesday. I'll send a Zoom link and stuff out for that. But the only reason that you would need to drop in is if you had any specific questions about the feedback I gave you from the competencies 1 through 4 assignment. We're also going to get introduced to competency 8 today, which is a weird deal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. I know that's not the order that numbers go in, but it's better to probably do our competencies in that order, and then we'll come back at the last toward the end of the course, and we'll do the lesson plan, which takes care of competencies 5, 6, and 7. So that's the general plan. We're going to introduce you today to something called project-based learning. We talked about it. I think we took one day in Principles of Assessment and talked about project-based learning. And I believe I also showed you a PowerPoint video. I'm going to have you watch a couple of videos again. One of those, I think, is the video that I showed you before. And then we'll come back from having watched those videos and we'll do a quick PowerPoint just to hit some main points of PBL. I'll introduce the assignment to you, and then I'll let you guys head out. The thing is, what I found in Zoom is I can't just show a video and have you guys all watch it. So what I'm going to actually end up doing is I've linked the videos onto our course site. I'll show you where to find those here in a second. I'm going to send you into your own individual breakout rooms here in just a few moments, so you have time to watch those videos by yourself. And then we'll come back.
You actually can do videos, because Tuesday, in my success class, we were able to watch a video, but I'm not sure how she did. She shared her screen and then put captions on and then figured out the noise.
Okay. So
that's something you want to try and do.
I will have to I'll play around with that. I know that you can do it. I just don't know how to do it. So because I don't want to take your time is basically what it boils down to. I'll give you time individually to watch that here in just a few moments. And that seemed to work pretty well. And then I'll do my best to figure that out. I know you can, Faith. I know you're right, but I don't know how to do it. So rather than waste your time on it, I'll try to figure it out later on. So let me share my screen with you. Let's see here. And remember, just in case you can't make this, are you seeing this? This is my YouTube channel. I'm a verified YouTuber now. I don't really know what that means, except that they let me post stuff now. So all your course classes are actually posted on here. So if you do happen to miss a day of the class, you can come back and take a look. They'll always get posted on here, and I'll always try to send out emails with the links as well. Okay, so now do you see the curriculum instruction page? Okay. If you go to module for week 4, let me close this one out. Then you'll notice these 2 videos here. They're both from YouTube. The first one's like 4 minutes long. The second one, I know that you've seen it before, but I want you to kind of at least skim through it again here in the next few minutes. It's about a 6-minute video. I will give us a total of about 12 minutes in our class time to kind of watch that. While you guys watch these, I'll just pause the recording. And then after that, we'll come back. We'll do a quick introduction to project-based learning via a PowerPoint, and then I'll show you this, which is the competency assessment or the competency assignment. I'll give you a chance to ask any questions, and then we'll head out. So I'm going to stop the share for now. I'm also going to stop the recording because I'm going to give you guys time. I'm going to put you into breakout sessions, which is just you in your own session. And then we'll be back here in a few minutes. So I'm going to pause the recording now. For those that are watching this recording on YouTube, this is the time that you go and watch those other videos. There's 2 videos on the course website. Welcome back from having watched those couple of videos. One of them was new. One of them I think you'd seen before. But they both kind of gave you an introductory framework to project-based learning. I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go through a PowerPoint that's going to give a little bit more info. Now that you've seen the video, it might mean a little bit more to you. when we talk about project-based learning, one of the things that I really want to point out, and I know that the actual example video that you watched talked about this. In fact, they did a study on this that was part of the video itself. If you have trouble engaging kids in your classroom, a lot of times, well, number one, check your teaching methods. It could be that you're just lecturing for 5 minutes, which is never a good thing. The other thing would be that sometimes students respond to things in different ways. And the one thing that I would love to point out about project-based learning is that for students that are considered at risk in your classes, project-based learning is a way to kind of engage them and bring them into the framework of your curriculum by actually having them do hands-on stuff, skill set stuff that will actually not just meet standards, but also actually help them understand better. So why do we do project-based learning? It's because it makes school more engaging for students, for all students really, but in particular for students who are considered at risk. Sometimes the knock on project-based learning is it doesn't address standards. Well, that's really not true at all. In fact, it's just the opposite. And we'll see a slide here in just a second that will illustrate that. But I think you also saw that in the example video that you watched. You know, that unit was a second grade unit, but it blended social studies stuff. It blended math, it blended language arts and reading. I mean, there's all sorts of things that you saw in there that project helped address. We mentioned that it improves learning, builds success for skills for college, career, and life, and you can read that too. But again, the biggest thing that I want to kind of throw out there to you is that it promotes educational equity. You know, many of us, myself included, maybe were the kids that just did well in school just because that's what we did. We had a different background maybe than some, but the idea of educational equity is pretty important because, you know, not every kid has the, how do I want to say this? Not every kid will come into your classroom with the same amount of preparation and the same amount of support and the same system of support that maybe you had when you were in school. And the idea of educational equity becomes very important in that way, and project-based learning is one way to make that happen in your classroom. The shorter video that you watched kind of took you through the different steps of project-based learning. It always starts with a challenging problem or a question. In the example video, the question was, you know, what can we do? The first question was, what can we do to better our community? They settled on a more specific question. How can we help improve this park in order to better our community? And so the whole unit started from there. And with the sustained inquiry, student voice and choice about what they were able to do, reflecting on what they were going to do, revising what they were going to do, and then eventually the last step of every project-based learning assessment is a public product. And in the example video, you saw them, I believe you saw them present to the city councilman, and that was how they chose to disseminate the information that they'd learned at the end, okay? Sometimes you hear about different ways to go about designing project-based learning. What you witnessed in the video was called a main course project. It includes all of the standards of the unit itself. So it's a really authentic assessment of how those standards should be assessed in the framework of a unit. Sometimes you hear about dessert projects in that you design your unit, you put it out there, and then you kind of get an idea later on and go back to it. When we look at examples, and as many as I will show you, I will always show you the main course projects. I think that's a more effective way to address the standards that you're trying to hit. And if we talk about beginning with the end in mind, you really want to have all that stuff set up before you design the instruction. That's kind of the bedrock of this course. So in my opinion, you can differ if you want, but in my opinion, probably the main course project is the way to go. We mentioned what about the standards. If this was a face-to-face class, this would be where I would show you that example unit. But you did watch that, and you saw again that it hit math standards, it hit social studies standards, language arts, reading standards, plus probably many more that I'm not thinking about as well, but they're all in there and they're all assessed. You might want to go back and take a closer look at this later on, but I'll just run through this quickly. At Horace Mann, the 3rd and 4th grade classroom a couple of years ago did a project-based learning activity. And it coincided with the construction of the Hughes Fieldhouse, the large building that's kind of on the west side of campus, where many of the athletic teams practice. As it was being built, the students had a project idea, and they decided they wanted to help design the landscaping for the outside of Hughes Fieldhouse. So that was the project idea. The students will research and create a landscape design for a new building. They will budget and present ideas to a panel of city and campus officials. In that particular lesson, these are the standards that were intentionally hit. And so all of the assessments were built around these standards. They designed the assessment first as far as what they were going to do, but then they came back to this driving question: how can we as designers propose landscaping plans to beautify the Hughes Fieldhouse? And this was a group of 3rd and 4th graders that worked on this. The opening event for students in terms of the instruction is called an entry event. In the video that you watched, the entry event was them going to the park and determining the things that needed to be replaced or repaired or fixed. The entry event for the 3rd, 4th grade in Horace Mann, it was twofold. One is they went to the Hughes Fieldhouse. As it was under construction, they kind of got the sense of what the building looked like and what it might need. The other thing they did is they went to a greenhouse and they explored different plants and flowers and ways of organizing and setting up those plants and flowers in a design scheme. So those were the 2 entry events they did for that particular class. They got together, they asked questions: what kind of plants grow in Missouri? How big is the land that we have to work with? You know, what kind of animals do plants attract? All these things that they worked with in their individual classrooms. And then eventually they, in groups, created a design notebook, a presentation, a map of their landscaping design, and they presented that to campus and community officials, including the City Council of Maryville, and I believe that Dr. Jasinski, the university president, was in on the presentation as well. That was a pretty big deal for those 3rd and 4th graders, and it was, in the end, a more motivating thing for them to do that in that way, rather than just learning rote formulas and memorizing, you know, what plants do and how they grow and things like that. So that's the idea behind the project-based learning. Let's stop the share on that. Questions about that stuff? That's a lot of stuff to throw at you here in the last 27 minutes. What do you got? Any questions? Preaching to the choir. Good, I like it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you one more time. We're going to go back to the course modules here. And in week 4, you will see comparing UBD and project-based learning. Okay, so when you click on that, you'll get what we call Competency 8. And when you download that, I'm going to share that with you. So I actually have to stop sharing again and then reshare. But when you download this, you'll get a Word document for Competency 8. And it looks like this. So there's no real protocol on this one, but here's the competency. Following a study of backward design in unit planning and planning for a project-based unit, students will compare and contrast the two, identifying all elements and reflecting on the implications of student learning. So what we really want you to do is just do a comparison between the backward design stuff, the unit plan that you annotated for competencies 1 through 4, and project-based learning, the stuff that you watched on the video, and then the PowerPoint introduction, and then you also had some introduction to it in Principles of Assessment class as well. What is the same about those things? What is different about those things? How can you see those things playing out in your own classroom? Okay, those are the questions that we're asking. And to do it correctly, you need to identify, you can see the exemplary component there, identify the components of backward design and project-based learning, and you reflect upon the implications for how students learn in those situations. And then you also reference the research. So what we've showed you in class or anything else that you can find, reference the research behind backward design and project-based learning. So you can do this multiple ways. I don't care what your final product looks like as long as it's got those components. So you could do it as, you know, you could do it as a T-chart, you could do it as a Venn diagram, you could just do it in paragraph form. I don't care how it looks. I just need to know that you have kind of an understanding of the similarities and differences between project-based learning and understanding by design. Okay? So I think I made that due on the 22nd of April, which gives you just a little under a week to do that. Again, the Tuesday session of our class is just office hour. I don't plan on any instruction, but I'll be here from 10 to 11 on Tuesday of next week. If you have any questions, you can just drop in. A couple of you did that this past week, and I think it worked out pretty well. Also, by the time that Tuesday rolls around, I will have your competencies 1 through 4. I don't know if graded is the right term, but I'll have looked at them and given you feedback. And so if there's anything that you would need to change or any questions you have on the feedback, you can ask me questions about that on Tuesday as well. Okay.
I have
So
a quick question.
yes.
So for on Monday it says the instructional strategies log for 80 points is due on the 20th.
Oh, I'll fix it.
Okay, I always like
It's
to
not
make
due till
sure
the end
that,
of the semester. I just gave when I put it on there, I didn't want it to pop up on your screens right away. So I'll fix that. You'll have, let's see, I think you've got until May, the first week of May to get that done. So I'll fix
Okay.
that. I'll fix that. Thank you. Other questions? All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording, and then what I will do